Good day, everyone in Empowered Soul Network. It is so exciting to be on here with you. It's been a few weeks now. I know I've popped in every now and then, but really looking forward to sharing with you and having Judy Dragon, join us to share with you her message, her journey, her purpose and passion that's going on right now within. Judy, welcome, and thank you so much for being the initiator of the return to the interviews with me. I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Judy, okay, first, Judy Dragon, you said real biological name. Can you tell me like just how do you relate to your name? What does that inspire in you?
It feels like a real symbology of my journey. It feels like I chose that name and that family. I know I did to bring forth information and the light through the darkness. And so, dragons have been known in mythology, though I do believe they're real, to be um, beautiful creatures of wisdom that hide the gems of knowledge and wisdom in the underworld. And I believe that has been my journey.
Wow. Wow, we could just talk about that
Yeah.
for the rest of this interview, right? And there'd be so much depth in that. So how has can you kind of share with people what you do and how has that what you just shared, how does that fit in with what you're involved in now in your purpose in life?
Yeah. Good question. I feel like in having been into alternatives since the early 70s, I've really delved into different healing modalities, not just like oracle stuff, which is where I started with, but then I went into healing and to help me, though I was helping others. And so I started off with herbs. I used to do herb walks with my children and gather, our salads out in the woods and stuff like that. I actually home birthed all my children, um, and then when my second one was like a baby, someone introduced me to Jin Shin Jitsu, and then it really started opening up different cleansings from me, and I didn't know where they came from.
Hmm.
I didn't understand about energy when I first got introduced to that. But I did notice that I would put my hand up and people would feel energy coming from me. I didn't even understand that. And so as I kept studying, and I did like a 20-year tutorial with the person that I studied with Jinshin, I started then getting information about what was really happening or had happened to me growing up. And then I took hypnotherapy school. I became a clinical hypnotherapist. And so that name Dragon, just to tie it back, is kind of like the journey to bring that unknown into the light. And so as a clinical hypnotherapist at the time, I started really delving in, even prior to what was in the darkness of me or the shadow of me.
Hmm.
And from there, that really opened, I don't even want to say a can of worms because it was way bigger than that. And I just kept exploring and tried all different kinds of modalities. But I only did for others, what I felt was my calling and what my guides told me to do at the time. And that led me into theta healing. And I was in Vina Steibel as the founder, and I was her first student outside of Idaho when I lived in California. And she just told me start teaching classes. I didn't even know what I was teaching because I was a body energy worker, but at least I know about energy by then. And theta healing is so much like hypnotherapy. I can trance people so much faster because I can get them into a theta state within seconds. And that's where I then use the work to, and let's just say I used the techniques and kept, taking workshops from them, but then I integrated it between trauma healing, because that's my specialty,
Mhm.
and also the hypnotherapy. But I could do it faster through the theta healing.
Mm.
And I developed awarenesses and really got it more into the somatic because I was a body worker too. So years ago, I used to do the Jinshin, and it would start to move stuff up. And so I would then question my clients, what's happening for you? And then it would start to bring out their shadow stuff. And
Right.
I could lead them. Then I found it was like doing double duty. So I kind of separated that after a while. You know, being a Capricorn, sometimes I take on too much. So I have to, sort things through.
So now, so you work predominantly with the theta healing, but you're working through traumas and helping people kind of shift into moving beyond that and so forth through that modality. Is that right?
Correct. And that's exactly the name of the book that I've
Okay.
written is Moving Beyond. So perfect lead in.
Talk to me about the book.
Yeah. Well, I wrote actually, my first book came out in 1999, and that was called Multiple Journeys to One. It had nothing to do with theta healing, but it actually, in a sense, did because everything is about Creator and God and the journey through the shadow. So at the time, Multiple Journeys to One was a compilation and of stories of 7 women who journeyed through healing from dissociative identity disordering, which used to be called multiple personalities. Okay. And that book came out, and then I let things go thinking I wasn't supposed to do anything more about this. But then the universe kept pushing me in different ways. And by 2009, I was teaching a workshop in theta healing, and everyone in the class was being triggered. And so while they were working on each other, I wrote down some notes. And 3 months later, those notes on how to work with each other became my first book, Moving Beyond, Healing the Trauma from Childhood Abuse. So that was put out, and Vienna published it. And then I continued realizing and talking to some of the people who read it, there was some stuff that was left out, like big stuff. And I realized that at the beginning of a journey, you have to have some skills. So I didn't put the skills in. The theta healing skills were there, but not psychological ones that really needed to be in place. And so I started writing another book in 2015, and I finished and published and had it published this year. So it took me 10 years almost to do this because it was 1,000 pages. So
Wow.
I made it into 3 books. And it's a series and it's a journey. So here we are back to the dragon.
Mhm.
And the books are so beautiful in their covers because it shows the journey of the butterfly from the caterpillar to the chrysalis to the emergence.
Yeah.
And that is the journey for me and for others of trauma healing.
And what are those books called again? What's that series called?
Um, shall I show you? It,
Sure. Yeah.
it's called Moving Beyond Revised, Healing the Trauma of Childhood Abuse through Theta Healing. So there are 3. This is the second book. So you can see the covers, and there's a little chrysalis in
Yeah.
there. And then the third one is the butterfly emerged.
Wow. Yeah.
So
So it's bit by bit, kind of as in your journey. I'm seeing that picture you painted of uncovering things and shining light on things that brings you right back to why you chose
Right.
to be born the way you were born, right?
Exactly. And I actually do remember um, coming here and
Hmm.
choosing this life,
Hmm.
as difficult as it was, and so grateful that in April, after the two eclipses, and I had been in the process, but not fully knowing if it was actually going to complete. I finished all my memories. I mean, it took me 38 years. All my memories, all the feelings, all the emotions, and the beliefs that were connected to, because theta healing is about belief changing and focused thought. And I finished in April. And I've actually just thought, well, maybe I didn't. And I'm open if God has something more to show me. Nothing.
Hmm.
But what has been shown to me is work a little more on your genetics, work a little more on your past lives, clean it up for your ancestors, clean it up for your ascendants, for your children. So that's what I've been doing.
So obviously your books have a very specific focus. Is it I don't want to pry too much, but is it fair to say that you had some experience in your own healing through this kind of experience in life of
Absolutely.
trauma?
Yes. So
So
I am going to say this because it's already out, but I'm just not going to go into details.
yeah.
I was trafficked
Mm.
from a very early age for many, many years.
Wow.
And because of that, I had a lot of near death experiences. So I was over on the other side. My Capricorn keeps me grounded here. And I had a lot of messages, particularly my connection was Yeshua. And so he would send me back. He would tell me, remember why you're here. And that's what I used, to keep me on the journey.
Yeah.
It was a difficult one.
Oh yeah.
So um, I don't think that there's any darkness I haven't either witnessed or heard through my clients, because most of my clients are of that specialty.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Talk about a deep and powerful path that I I can't even imagine that, but it's amazing to witness you having now know that you've experienced what you've experienced and to be where you are now, helping be that light and that, the yeah, the light that is guiding people through that is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you a lot. It's funny when you said that. I remember years ago, I was at the Theta Healing Institute, and they had bumper stickers in their stores. And they had a bumper sticker that said, the light at the end of the tunnel may be an oncoming dragon. And I had to have that bumper sticker.
Wow. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, that you need to make that into t-shirts. You need to do all sorts of stuff with that. That's amazing. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. Just to bring it to a little bit of lightness for a minute, that you said that I believe dragons are real. I feel like I talked to my daughter asked that kind of stuff a lot, and I'm like, well, I mean, I haven't seen one, but that doesn't make them not real. How do I know that they're not, right?
Well, I've had some journeys with my totem, and that's a story unto itself, a short one, but nonetheless. Um, the I had a shamanic journey years ago where I was to find this was actually through theta healing, and so we did it through creator, just to say that theta healing is non-dualistic. So everything is done through that energy of unconditional love and creator.
Mm.
So I went to that energy and I did a journey and I saw two dragons. One was a mama dragon, beautiful in kind of green bluish color. And then there was a baby dragon and it was kind of in a bubble. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I was actually on the mama dragon and I could feel it. And I was so excited. And then I have a lot of friends who talk about their journeys with dragons. And I'm like, oh my goodness, isn't that cool? They've had experiences too. So just to show you, 2 weeks after that journey, I went into a gem shop in California, where I live, Northern California. And I went into the store and look what showed up. That
Wow,
was my
that was
totem
it.
with a baby. Is that a trip?
Wow. You know, the universe is pretty amazing, isn't it? Just
It
all
is
the things that
totally, I love synchronicities.
uh-huh. Uh-huh. I have a friend who we spent some time together recently, and the phrase is, "This is pretty freaking great, isn't it?" And that's just what you inspire me, just all of the little things that show up that, sometimes we take for granted, but when you're present and you're really engaged, you don't, and you see just how amazingly abundant and giving the universe is.
Totally. And as you said, it's kind of an inspiration in a fact, because when I use those kinds of synchronicity, it actually helped me realize that one of my gifts is I can connect the dots. And so that wisdom helped me through the last 5 years, because I actually knew what was going on and
Mm.
I didn't buy into anything. I had been told years ago that this was going to happen. So I was like, oh, I guess this is the time. Well, that's good. I'm just going to do more of my inner work to keep moving forward. And so I just got the nonprofit even moving forward.
I was
And
going to ask you about that. Yeah.
um, and actually, we brought it, my business partner and I brought it to what we call a not for profit rather than a nonprofit. A not for profit is because both of us became American state nationals. So that's not political. That is just through Creator, again, it's a movement of restoring us as women and men, coming back to the land, coming back to the true Constitution and the true Bill of Rights, and honoring that these are God given rights, not by any political party, but because God gave it to us. You know, our sovereignty. And as someone who lived in slavery the first 20 some years of my life, this level of sovereignty has brought it to another level for me.
Mhm.
So we brought the business into the land to honor the journey.
Interesting. Can you tell me a little bit more about what the nonprofit is or the not-for-profit is?
Sure. It's called the Moving Beyond Trauma Project. And this kind of feels like my baby because I feel like I've been birthing this since like 2018. And this, um, our eventual goal is to create free healing centers for those who have been abused as children and those who've been trafficked. And the reason being is it was so difficult for me to afford help in raising 4 children, then going through a divorce, working 2 jobs, and attempting to balance everything. And I just thought, what better thing could be than to have free centers to support this, to be donated? Particularly, look at the times now and what's coming out. There are so many people and they need to heal. They have gifts to bring. And I want to honor their gifts and respect their gifts and help them heal so they can see their gifts and, acknowledge it.
Hmm. Wow. Wow. So what's the big vision? I know you just talked about different centers. Do you have something that you are like
So
your
we're
sights are set on?
Yeah, so we're building up to that.
Okay.
Okay, so we have offerings. We have a beautiful website that was just redone, and we have um, podcasts. We do monthly podcasts. We have videos. We have information. We have people can donate if they want. We have the books. Um, we have uh, gosh, we have workshops through the Theta Healing. So I brought on a couple of instructors who are trauma informed. They do the workshops.
Mhm.
Um, we have other members of the team that all support, like do our social media and stuff like that. They also do clients. So if people want sessions, they're all trauma informed. So everyone as part of it, I am now developing practicums so that when people read the books, it's a two-tier system. So they can take the first part, their question and answer, multiple choice and true and false as they go through the book, and they can take that. And then tier two is when they gather with me, and there are questions that we ask that we can all talk about their clients and stuff like that. Or then that would go into mentorships, and also what we call sacred circles. So I have the structures for them, but I haven't initiated. It's like one step at a time. I'm only one person that can do all this writing.
Uh-huh.
And so that's kind of like what we've been doing, and taking the different topics each month that creator tells me to. And I do Debbie, who's my business partner, and we do a podcast together.
Wow. So how can people, I have a couple other random questions, but I'm just want to continue in this vein. How can people find you? What is the best way? Your website, probably?
Yeah, the Moving Beyond Trauma Project.org.
The Moving Beyond Trauma Project.org.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay. So as we begin to wrap up here, I have a very random question, and because it keeps popping in my head that you mentioned it earlier for some reason I want to ask. You talked about home birthing your children. What was your why? Why did you do that? What was the reason behind that?
I've always been alternative, thought out of the box.
Mhm.
When I moved to California, I found so many people who thought like me. And God would just line me up with these people. And I had considered at one point becoming a midwife or becoming a doula, but my path took me someplace else, more into another way of healing. Um, I had at the time had to talk to my husband, my former husband, into doing it this way. And unconsciously, I didn't want to have anything to do with doctors
Mm,
at all. So I've been out of the allopathic system for literally 40 years, over 40 years, probably 45 years. Yeah. And I don't see them. Um, I do my own healings, or I have friends. I mean, I do go to the dentist, and I do go, but a holistic. It's got to be a biological dentist. And I go to a chiropractor. So that's about as straight as I get. I'm really out of the box.
what was that experience like for you doing home birthing? What was your feeling in it all?
I felt empowered. I
Mm.
felt that I had uncontrol, but the uncontrol, it's like chaos, but it has an order to it. Does that make sense?
It does. I home birthed my second child, so
Mm.
I'm reliving some of the things as you're talking. Yes, I relate to exactly what you're saying.
Okay,
Birthing in general, right? But yeah, doing it at home's different experience.
it's totally. And even though one of my births, I probably could have gone to the hospital because there was some issues that came up. I actually talked back to the midwife. She says, "You got to get to the hospital. You're going to die." And I just looked at her and I'm like, "I'm not going to die. And please do not tell me that."
Mm.
And I just, commanded. And I knew what it was energetically for me, what had happened. And it was the trauma trying to rise up. I didn't know it for sure, but I knew something, you know. I
Wow.
didn't I didn't know about the trauma actually until the harmonic convergence in 1987.
Hmm.
Then it started to come up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, we could have a whole conversation all about all of that. I guess you led me into this last question that I love to ask, which is, what is an empowered soul to you?
An empowered soul is someone who is willing to go into themselves and find their truths, no matter what it takes, and willing to use their virtues that is part of them to move forward and to know that God is always that creator energy, that unconditional love is always part of them. And from there, that fuels them to do what they came here to do. That to me is an empowered soul.
Beautiful. Wow. Thank you for sharing with us here, Judy. This has been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much, for speaking with me and for having me and getting our message out.
Absolutely. All right. So again, one more time, tell me the website people go to,
The Moving Beyond Trauma
.org.
Project.org. Yes.
Awesome. All right, everybody, you have been listening to Judy Dragon, and what a powerful journey, and the wisdom and healing that you're involved in spreading is remarkable. Thanks for sharing with us and being here.
Thanks.
All right, we'll talk to you all soon.